Hey guys, welcome back. It's good to see you all. Hey, I've had a bunch of questions from guitar players. I switched out my guitar rig about a year ago, and I went to a Kemper rig for a bunch of different reasons that I'll talk about later on in the video. But many people have asked me the question, what do you think of the Kemper? Would you do it again? Would you buy the Kemper again? Would you get rid of your old pedal board and such? If you're one of these people who wants to cut to the chase and just get to the end of the video, here's the end of the video. I love my Kemper. It's great. I would definitely buy it again. I would definitely do that in place of my old rig. But I wanted to talk you through 15 reasons why I bought the Kemper. Now, this is for you guys. If you're out there sitting on the fence and you don't know whether you should buy a Kemper, these are some reasons why I think the Kemper is a really great buy and why I think you should buy the Kemper if you can afford a Kemper. All right, so let's just take this from the top. Reason number one is you have quick access and easy access to a lot of different amps and effects. You know, when I play a studio session, typically I'll come in with one amplifier and a pedal board. That's my norm. Sometimes if it's a certain type of session, I might bring two. So maybe I'll have my Fender and my Marshall or something like that I'll go in with. But oftentimes I just go in with, I have an old 66 Vibrolux. I'll go in with that, some really good pedals, and just cross my fingers and hope for the best. I can normally get good sounds out of it. But, if I need a very specific sound, I'm in a little bit of trouble. With the Kemper, literally there's tens of thousands of amplifiers that are available. And probably in the box, I have hundreds of amplifiers that I can use. And here's the other thing, when I do home sessions or in the studio, I don't have to worry about switching out microphones. For instance, on my Marshall, I like using a 421 and a 57. On my Vibrolux, I like using like a Fathead and a 57 together, or a 4047 AT microphone. Those are the sounds that I really dig on them. And, I have to switch out microphones. I have to adjust my preamp levels. I set up baffles in front of the speaker because I'm in the same room. It's sometimes difficult to hear even with those baffles because you have headphones on and it gets too loud with the Marshall roaring. I have to plug in different cables. Sometimes I'll have to walk into another room if I'm at the studio and doing a session. And it's really nice, when I'm using the Kemper, the way that I have it set up for sessions and stuff like that is I have these like general banks that I have set up. So a Performance that has 5 different slots in it. So for instance, one of them is I just call it my worship rig. And I've got like AC30s and my other sounds that are what I would typically use on a worship rig. Then I've got a general rig for like general sessions, and I've got like some divided by 13, some Fenders, some Marshalls, some different normal amps that I would use on it. And I can dial in and get, let's say I want a semi-crunch sound like a hot AC30. I can just know exactly where it's at. I don't have to browse through, 400 amplifiers to find it. I have one that has 5 clean amplifiers, so some Fenders, some AC30s, some divided by 13s. I've got some crunch amplifiers, some boogie stuff, some hot AC30s and stuff. I have full-blown like high gain amplifiers. So, I've got the Engels and some Marshalls and some Friedman amps and a Sur amp in there. And I also have an acoustic bank if I want to go direct for my acoustic. So it's really fast. I have really quick access to the sounds that I need very quickly. And I also don't run into any weird like phasing issues or a badly placed mic or room bleed. Mix bleed into it or anything like that. And I've run into all of those. I've had problems where I've done a take, got a good take, played it really well, and then realized like I didn't like my mic placement, or I've had a phase issue, or I could hear the click bleeding through or something. Well, you don't have any of those with this. So that's number one. Number two, I can back up the amplifiers I have. Now I should say, I've not done that. So I haven't done that yet. But, I think about like you guys, you probably have sold amplifiers that you wish you still had. I had an old Seymour Duncan convertible amp. It was a very weird amp. I had a Music Man 65 and 130 watt. I had a Pierce G2R. I had a Roland Jazz amp. I had a Top Hat Club Royale. I had a divided by 13 RSA 31. I had a 78 Vox. What else? I had Boogie Studio amps. Egnator preamps, some other weird amplifiers. They were sort of oddball amplifiers that weren't just your normal, go down to Guitar Center and pick them up amplifiers. And sometimes I wished that I had an old Roland Jazz Chorus. It had a pristine, clean sound. It had weird other sounds, but it was pristine, clean. Sometimes I've wished that I had that Jazz Chorus sound. It would be great if I could have profiled those and just had them in my box. And when I hear those certain sounds, if I had access to them. And currently, I've got a bunch of amps, like my current amp setup. I've got let's see, a 88 Marshall Jubilee, like a Joe Bonamassa amp, fantastic amplifier, big 412 cab with Celestians in it. I've got a 66 Vibrolux reverb with Jensen's in it, really awesome. I have a 66 Fender Bassman that I use all the time. I have a Matchless DC30 head that I use, a reverb head that I use all the time. I have an Egnator Rebel I just use on small practice type of things. I have a Fender Rivera era Super Champ that I have. I have a 65 or 62 AC30 clone by Hayseed, Valvetronics, fantastic amplifier. Well, I've got these amplifiers that are great amplifiers, and I would love to back them up so that if I ever had to, or profile them, so if I ever had to sell one of them, I would still have those sounds at my fingertips. I don't want to lose those amplifiers. If one would catch on fire or I'd need to sell it, I'd love to have a backup of it. All right, so that's reason number 2. Reason number 3. All right, reason number 3 is this. I've had repair issues on finicky amps, and especially like older amps. They can drive you crazy with bad tubes or bad caps or, whatever it is that's going on with the amp. I often had amplifiers being repaired. It's costly, first of all. It's going to be $100 every time you take them out. But I remember last year, one of the things that drove me to getting this Kemper amplifier is I went to do a home studio session, and I needed like a little bit of crunch thing. I had my normal Vibrolux set up with my pedal board, went to do a take, and I had a bad tube or something like that in it. I was like, oh, shoot. So I plugged into my AC30. Same thing. I had some weird hum in the thing that it wasn't passable. Plugged into my Marshall. I didn't really want the Marshall on it, but I plugged into it. Something was going on with the Marshall. 3 amplifiers all in my studio were all down at the same time. Well, with this thing, with the Kemper, I just have not run into problems with it. It's been a really easy, no fuss type of amplifiers. I don't have to worry about tubes in it. I don't have to worry about my pedal board. Oftentimes in a pedal board, I had George L cable for a while. Cables would go out. Then I finally soldered all my cables. But sometimes, stuff would get finicky with my pedal board. I'd get a ground loop hum or, I'd have some problems with the, even though I soldered my Mogami cables and stuff, I had issues with them. So, I just don't have those issues now with the Kemper. It seems like I plug it in and it goes, and I never have an issue. It's very consistent that way. All right, number 4. Number 4 is I can back up and transfer sounds. So I have exact replicas of my sounds, as I talk about. Even if, like, let's say, for instance, my Marshall, I really love that Marshall Jubilee. Let's say that I sold it and I got a new one. It almost certainly wouldn't sound just like the old one. But when I profile it, that profile's the same forever. If 10 years from now I pull up that profile of my amplifier, it's going to sound the exact same. So for longevity, I have an exact replica of the amplifier that I really love. And that's great to not have to, worry that like I'm going to lose this great amplifier eventually. Like old AC30s, they were finicky amplifiers. If it burns up on you or something like that, you've lost that amp forever. But if you profile it, you have it forever, which is great. Similar to the number 3, but a little bit different. All right, number 5. All right, number 5, I've got instant recall of patches. So, with my pedal board, what I would do is I had the Strifecta on my pedal board, so I had the 3 Strymons. They were programmable. That was fantastic. I would be able to get sounds pretty quickly. But, I was always tweaking knobs on the different distortion pedals or boost pedals or whatever other pedals that I had. So every time I redid a song, I didn't start from scratch because I had the Strymon stuff, but I would have to like patch through and get the patch for the Strymons all lined up, and then I would have to like tweak in my sounds. Well, there's none of that with this Kemper. I pull up This Is Amazing Grace or whatever song I'm doing, and I have an instant recall of that patch that I did. Now, I might have a different guitar, so maybe I have to tweak it a tiny bit for the different guitar. Not a big deal, though. It's pretty fast. But aside from that, the tempos, the sounds that I've used on it, all of that stuff, it's instant recall, and I'm ready to roll. And maybe with just a little bit of a tweak, let's say I was using a Strat instead of a PRS or a Les Paul or something like that, maybe I would brighten it up and take a little bit of bottom off it. But other than that, my sound is pretty much rocking right from the get-go, and it's exactly what I heard in program before. All right, number 6. All right, number 6 is just backup. It's really great to have backup. So, I always worried. I had a big pedal board before and I had my amplifiers. First of all, if I had to fly with them, that would be impossible. But second of all, if a fire happened or something like that, I'm really in trouble. With the Kemper, I've got a type of backup. I've got, here, I'll show you. I've got my backup. Dun, dun, dun. Right there is my backup. But I also back it up online. I just have a Google Drive file. I have it online. If I go, if I'd go in Nashville and do a session or something like that and didn't have my Kemper, I could grab somebody else's Kemper, pull up my patches, and I'm ready to roll on it, which is fantastic. And then, my songs are like easy to name and stuff. With the rig manager, I can drag and drop songs or sounds very quickly, and that's just fantastic. All right, number 7. Number 7 is it's light and small. All right, I told you I have a Marshall Jubilee at home. It's got a 412. It's a big, heavy amplifier. My Matchless back here, I believe it weighs as much as a VW Bug. It's just impossible to move. I could never fly with the thing unless I was doing a major, tour or something like that. It's just too heavy to move around. I didn't even like bringing it on sessions. It was so heavy for me. I just didn't enjoy moving it. I had a giant pedal board. You can look online at my last pedal board. It was heavy. It was awkward. Again, I would never fly with it. I wouldn't even do local gigs with it. As a matter of fact, when I did sessions, I just had a small, like Tim Pierce type of pedal board that just had my necessary stuff on it that was the absolute go-to, and maybe I'd bring an extra pedal or two if I needed something, some oddball sort of pedal. But it's a hassle to have all of that stuff. This, I've got a lunchbox. It all fits into the little tiny bag. I literally walk into gigs or sessions. I've got my guitar. I've got that. And normally that's it. So it's really fantastic. By the way, you can see a video of how I fit all the stuff in the Kemper bag. I have that in my Kemper stuff. But it's, super small footprint. If I'm on a stage, like my old pedal board, it was huge. And sometimes I'd be on a stage like close with other people, and that was always awkward. This one, I've got this little tiny thing that does everything for it. I just don't have to worry about, like, I used to have to roll out. I would use a stereo rig with my Bassman and my DC-30. I would have it on this rolled thing and roll it and do the pedal board with all these pedals. Well, I don't have those hassles anymore. Everything's built in too. It's got the tuner and everything else, all the effects all built in. So that's fantastic. So that's number 7. Number 8. Number 8 is the pedal board. The pedal board is amazing. When I got it, I had just built my last pedal board that was gigantic. It was mission control. Like I said, I heard somebody, I think Tone Junkies called it the Strifecta. I've got the 3 Strymon pedals on there, the Timeline, the Mobius, and the Big Sky, a bunch of other pedals. And I looked at this little tiny pedal board and I thought, like, it's not going to do what I need it to do. But I'll tell you what, I have been absolutely thrilled with it. You've got 5 different patches in a song, so you can do like intro, verse, chorus, pre-chorus, solo, and have them all lined up for you. Or you can just have, a single rig, like I have a worship rig, and I basically have like ambient sound, super clean, little bit of bite, some real bark to it, full-blown chords, and then a lead type of sound. It's really easy to use that way, but it also has a tuner built into it. It's got a looper built into it. It's a very accurate tuner. It's got tap tempo on it. It's got 5 different slots that I can program. I think it's 5 slots, 4 different slots that I can program, reverb on off or delay on off or distortion on off or some other thing. And I can change them song to song. So let's say one, I need a chorus pedal to go on. And the other one, I have, an octave pedal or something. Well, I can just program it how I want. I can put 2 pedals on one slot, so I could have the delay and reverb come off with one punch, or I can reverse them so the delay comes on when I punch the reverb off or whatever. It also has morphing, so I can turn up volumes or gains or delay levels or whatever just with a touch of a button. It is absolutely brilliant. I'm thrilled with that pedal board. I'd highly recommend it. I would not use pedals, incidentally. Okay, number 9. All right, number 9 is I can copy and paste any pre-programmed sounds that I have into any song that I have. So if I have an ambient sound, out of my ambient, I actually have a thing that's just all ambient patches. All 5 of the slots, all ambient. And let's say there's one that I really like that has, octave up, harmonizer or something. I can just drag and drop it through the rig manager and put it into my worship song or whatever it is. It's very quick to do. Or if I had, Roaring Marshall that I liked and I wanted to do a lead in a Planet Shaker song or something like that, I could just drag and drop it in. It's as simple as that. So very easy. All right, number 10. Free amps out the wazoo. That's all I have to say on that one. You have like Tone Junkies and Michael Britt and Top Jimmy. You go to these sites and they'll give away amplifiers. I mean, it's amazing, the amplifiers. A lot of the amps that I use that are my favorite amps are ones that people have given away. And of course, they give away some of their top amps because they want you to buy their stuff. So they want you to like their stuff. So lots of free stuff out there. All right, number 11. You can buy amazing amplifiers. So when I first bought this thing, I knew that I needed an AC30 and a good AC30. That's a key for worship music. I listened through some of the AC30s that were on it. I didn't love them. I've heard Michael Britt had a great AC30. It was a 65 AC30, very sensitive amp that was really profiled well. I bought it and I loved it. Now, if I bought an AC30 1965, $3,000, $4,000, something like that for a really good one. I don't know, it would cost something like that. And, very finicky amp also, that they catch on fire on you and stuff, just ask the Edge. But anyhow, I wanted a great AC30. I bought it off of Michael Britt, $9. I got this amazing AC30 for $9. If I didn't like it, I lost $9. It's like the cost of a good patch cable, So not a big deal. All right. Number 12. Number 12 is you can have impossible to find amplifiers in your library. A couple years back, I remember I was interested in Dumbles. I love Larry Carlton sound, Robin Ford, some other people, Stevie Ray. And I was like, man, it'd be nice to get a Dumble and like really be able to mess with that and see what it sounds like. Maybe if I bought one, I would sound like those guys. Anyhow, I looked on eBay and that day there happened to be one, a really pristine one. Guess how much it was? Take a guess. $50,000. $50,000 for an amplifier. I mean, I'm a musician. I'm a professional musician. Who could afford that? Carlton couldn't afford that anymore if he didn't own one of the old ones. Anyhow, you can get a Dumble on this thing. I just saw, what's his face? Michael Britt has a Dumble on it. There's Trainwreck amplifiers. There's, you can get a Marshall Super Lead 100. I mean, who can put a Marshall Super Lead in their house? It would crack your foundation, but you can get one on here and you can sound like Hendrix. Or, you can get some weird tweaky, Epiphone amplifier from the 50s or something. So you can buy oddball amps, and that's really great. All right, number 13. On my old rig, if I wanted to update something, I had to change something. But with this, it gets updated all the time. Every time I plug it in, it automatically updates with Rig Manager. So any of the new updates just happen on the thing. So my old rig, if I wanted to update an amplifier sound, I replaced my amplifier. If I wanted to update my distortion, I replaced my distortion. If I wanted to update my delays, I really basically had to get a new delay probably. Even the Strymon updates were just tweaky updates. It wasn't really big updates. Since I've gotten this thing, I've had some major updates. So when I got it, I loved the amplifiers. I liked the effects. I didn't love the effects. I liked the effects. They were good. They weren't great. So the delays I thought were hurting. Well, they updated the delays. Now the delays are like Strymon level delays just about. They're fantastic. I love them. I thought afterwards, like, yeah, I'm so glad they did that, but I wish they would update the reverbs. Well, they just updated the reverbs. They're like big sky level reverbs now, really incredible. Now, I still don't like some of the, I wish the Tube Screamer was better. I wish some of the pedals were better. Well, guess what? I'm sure they're going to do some of those things. I'm sure the Univibes are going to get replaced and the tremolos they're going to upgrade all of that stuff. But the cool thing is they don't charge me for it. It's just been amazing, They just released an editor for it. That was a brand new thing. I think it's going to be fantastic. And it's free. You got to love that word free. It's free. So that's number 13. All right, number 14. All right, number 14. This is what it's all about. It doesn't matter all the other crap. It sounds amazing. It just sounds amazing. It's a great sounding amplifier. Now, I have amplifiers that sound amazing too, and guys who have good amplifiers, they're happy with their good amplifiers. You should be too. But this thing sounds amazing. There's nothing negative to say about the Kemper. Some people say it doesn't sound exactly like the original amplifiers. I beg to differ. I think if you're in a studio environment with headphones on and somebody played your amplifier against their model of your amplifier, profile of the amplifier, I think you'd be hard pressed. If I put it in a mix, you'd have to be a genius with genius ears to be able to hear the difference. I can't hear the difference. Maybe I don't have the best ears in the world, but I have good ears. I've been doing this forever and have some good amplifiers to base it on. And it's very, very difficult in studio settings for me to tell the difference of the amplifier. I couldn't. I could not tell the difference on these things. So, it just sounds amazing. You should be happy with this thing if you get it. So that's always the bottom line. It's not all what it can do. It's does it sound great or doesn't it sound great for a guitar player? It sounds great. So if that's your hang up, don't be hung up about that. It sounds amazing. And even if you could hear the difference between your Mesa Boogie and the Mesa Boogie that you profile in here, you're going to love the sound difference. You will not dislike the sound difference. It still sounds great, even if it does sound ever so slightly different. Okay, that's number 14. Finally, on to the last one, number 15. Here it is. Number 15 is, it is cheap. Okay, it's not cheap. It's $2,000 bucks. That's a lot of money for an amplifier. I don't care who you are. You have to be making some money to buy this thing. You either have to have a good side job or you have to be fairly successful in being a musician to be able to afford this. I get that. That's a lot of money. But the reality is I probably have $250 million of amps and effects in this thing. I would have to sell my kids and buy a smaller house to be able to afford it. But I wouldn't be able to fit, all of the amplifiers in a smaller house to be able to afford all those amplifiers. So, to pay $2,000 bucks for one of these, I think it's the steal of the century in some ways. I know it's a lot of money. I get that. Don't balk at that, though. Don't write me angrily and say, how can, I used to buy amplifiers for $300 or something. I have too, but the reality is if you buy a good amplifier anymore, when I buy an amplifier, I'm almost expecting to spend $1,500 to $2,000 for it because I want really good amplifiers. If I went to buy my 66 Vibrolux Reverb, it's probably $4,000 on the market now. Now I probably spend $1,000 bucks for it or something, but it's very expensive. You can buy one of these, half the price. I think it's great. So, all right. So bottom line, all in all, I think you heard this. I love it. I think it's fantastic. I don't have any negatives, zero negatives about it. Now, if you ask me why keep your rig, is there anything that I'm missing? Okay, well, this is what I have to say on that. I miss being up on stage and getting feedback. I miss having an amplifier roaring behind me. But you know what? The reality is in most gigs that I do in the studio, I normally don't do that because I have my amp ISO'd in a booth so that I can hear the drummer and I'm not like roaring. So I'm not getting that anyway. Here at church, I had my amps were off stage, so they were not roaring. I did not get feedback, and most gigs that I did were that way. There was occasional gigs where I'd be able to do that, but it was very rare. But I'd prefer a great amplifier roaring behind me. But the other thing about that, and this could be number 16, is the consistency. I would have these amplifiers, and literally you go in, you play the exact same setup, the exact same way, you plug it in, and one day it sounds different from the next day. I don't miss that at all. But I like the dynamics of a live amplifier. If I wasn't using in-ears and my sound guy wouldn't go crazy, would I use a live amp on stage? Yeah. I love that. I love hearing a real drummer, not somebody behind a cage. It just feels better. It's more organic. But aside from that, I would say I 100% recommend this Kemper amplifier. If you're thinking about it, just do it. Just go out and buy it. You will not regret it. If you do regret it, sell it to me. I want a second one so that I have a backup ready to go. But I don't think you'll regret it at all. You'll really like it. You can buy patches online and stuff like that too, which is just fantastic. So all in all, I'd give 2 thumbs up, 2 very hearty thumbs up. And I'd say go out and buy yourself a Kemper, do yourself a favor, and sell all your gear. That's what I'm going to eventually do. I'm in the process of, hopefully soon I will profile my amplifiers and get rid of some of my amplifiers. So, hey, if you want to buy a Matchless DC30, I know where you can get one. Anyhow, God bless. Until next time, signing off. See ya.